people are viewing, they know what's
yeah,
happening.
we just got done sparring with the team. So our sparring's at 10 a.m. now. So just got done with that, and it's good to just kind of get it out of the way. So now I'm here.
Who down there is the hardest to spar with today? Maybe who is down there?
I mean, everybody in that team gives you a different look. So, and then I think the most toughest guy has to be, in terms of reading and speed and height, it has to be Sarabu C. And so when I go with him, there are certain things that I gotta feel out to see how he reacts to it. Then of course, the champ Sean Strickland, he's another tough dude that I mean, it's the reason why he's a champion, right? So it's really good to see him and obviously the rest of the team just kind of bind together. And we were just talking about earlier how Sean, since he's been champion, he's taking this leadership role, which is really awesome to see, because certain things happens in life, and then you see where those people take it. And Sean has just kind of grabbed it and lead the team. So it's really good to see that.
There's been quite a few big, important things that have happened since we talked to you last. Can you talk to us about Francis Ngannou's boxing? What did you think of it? What was that experience like for you watching a PFL fighter in there?
I mean, what he did was truly amazing, because it wasn't just another MMA fighter boxing. And he wasn't just fighting anybody. He was fighting the heavyweight champion, boxing champion of the world. And so to see him do what he did was truly amazing. Because a lot of people doubted him. You know what I mean? I personally thought he'd probably have anything from 1 to 5 rounds to put Tyson Fury away. But when he dropped Tyson Fury, I think that also gave him a lot more confidence in what he was doing, and he was so composed, he was patient, and the fact that he went 10 rounds with the heavyweight champion is truly remarkable. And so, so happy for Francis. It's everybody was saying that, nah, he's gonna get outboxed, and that didn't happen. Francis was right there throughout the fight, and that fight could have easily gone his way. I mean, there was 1 point in it. So, in my opinion, he won, because nobody expected him to go 10 rounds with the heavyweight champion of the world. So, in my opinion, congrats, Francis. You did great, brother.
Is there a little bit of worry when you see that all the talk is like, wow, we want to keep seeing him box, and you're like, no, we want you to come here? Do we have like a timeline of when he might actually fight in the PFL, or are you guys going to let him have a little bit of time in boxing first?
That's something that we got to talk to the team, more about. I know, and obviously with Francis as well, I know he's gonna want to take a little bit of time off. And at the moment, he's scheduled to compete in February. But right now, I think it's one of those things where we just got to sit down with the team, and of course with Francis, and figure that out and see where we go from here.
There's also some rumors that Bellator sale finally went through. Can you give us any insight on that?
To be honest, I spoke to our attorneys last night, and that's not 100% done yet. So it's still in process. That's all I can say about that one.
All right. And I guess that what we're here for is the finals. Can you just give us a little bit of a preview on how you think the finals are going to go?
I think the finals are going to be great. Every fight is a tough fight. Clay Collard and the champ is a fight where, two different styles. Of course, it's MMA, right? So OAM, obviously, I got to say, this year, he's improved so much in his striking, because I never expected him to win a round with a striker, and he did that. And then, like, everybody expected him to wrestle, but he came out and just wanted to show the world his improvements in his game. And I think we're seeing the best of who OAM is. You know what I mean? Olivier, and so him and Clay Collard's going to be an interesting fight, because Clay Collard is a beast and he's relentless. And so, funny enough, I just spoke to Clay about 2 hours ago, and he's in great shape. He's ready to go. So, of course, Larissa and Marina, which that fight, it's an interesting fight because it's grappler versus striker, but Larissa's, jiu-jitsu black belt as well. So I think it's one of these things where she's got to come in and she's got to impose her will in terms of the grappling side. But the longer it stands, I see Larissa, taking that fight as long as that fight's on their feet. So then the featherweights, man, that's a bang of a fight too. And this is a rematch because these guys met in, I think it was their first regular season fight. That was a very, very close fight. But Pineda is just a beast. Like, we just saw him, because when I saw him in the first fight, you're like, okay, you know what, he's doing his thing, but the playoffs and the championship, the lead up to the playoffs and the lead up fight to the playoffs, he just looked amazing. Completely different kind of guy. And I think finding this belief in himself and his striking and his ability to go out there and just, put the beating on these guys. And now he's in the finals. Yeah, so 55, we're talking about 55, what's that, light heavyweights. That's an interesting fight too. Both guys are both explosive, good ground, good stand-up. So it could go either way. I think that's the 50-50 fight. What's the other one? Heavyweights, to me, that's a 50-50 fight also, because we know what Hennen can do. Hennen is a big, strong guy who's agile. And of course, we know what Gustaf can do. He's a very technical, he's a 7-time Sambo world champion. So, interesting fight comes down to whoever lands the, and again, it's a typical scenario with heavyweights, is that whoever lands the first good shot would turn the table.
The last one for me, can you talk to me a little bit about the Derek Brunson signing? How did that happen?
Oh, yeah, that was a good add-on to the team, I got a call from his manager that he was a free agent. I'm like, okay, let's go. He wanted to fight, because obviously he fights when he was fighting at the UFC, he was at 185, and they said that he wants to go to 205 and he would love to be part of the season. So I'm like, okay, great, let's do it. And he doesn't have an easy fight coming into it, because he's got Ray Cooper. Ray Cooper, we all know, he swings for the fences. And so Ray hasn't fought for a while, so sometimes that's a blessing, because you come out and you're hungry for it, you know what I mean? And so that's another fight I'm looking forward to, is Derek and Ray Cooper.
Thank you.
I want to ask you about OAM. You mentioned him. He's kind of mentioned recently that we might not see him next season unless the PFL come knocking with a good offer. Do you guys have any plans for OAM?
Yeah, win the championship and then we'll talk.
He was pretty adamant about a Canadian event. Is that something you'd be interested in?
That's absolutely possible. I believe James and our team is working on that.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
I spoke to you earlier at the Vegas event, and you said you would love to have like the finales here at Vegas. When could be the next time we get a Vegas event?
That's what we wanted, but unfortunately, that changed. I think about a month and a half, 2 months ago, it was kind of like Vegas was looking good, and then I think 2 weeks after that, it was just like, we'll go to DC. Why not? DC is a great place, so. A
great place.
Yeah.
An even better card like you guys just put on them.
Right.
Kayla Harrison, Ray Cooper, like you said, they're back. How was it like having them back on this amazing card?
Always great to have those guys on the cards. Kayla's, we all know what she does. She comes out and she fights and she wins. Ray Cooper's exactly the same. He's explosive. He can wrestle, he can grapple, all that kind of stuff. So that's why I think the Derek Brunson and Ray Cooper fight is going to be a really interesting fight, because Ray hasn't fought for a while now, and knowing the type of fighter he is, I think he's going to bring a fight. So looking forward to that for sure.
And Jake Paul kind of offered a lot with Nate Diaz coming over to the PFL and something. Didn't seem like Nate was too adamant about that. Do you guys still want to pursue that route, or?
I don't think it's that. I think he wants to box again. From what I'm hearing, that he wanted to do the rematch with Jake Paul in another boxing fight. I believe Jake Paul was saying that he wanted to do an MMA fight. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure where that's at, but that's the last I heard of that.
Hey Ray, can you? I guess this would be a better question for after the finals. But can you just talk about how the season as a whole, like, started out kind of rocky, and then all the suspensions, and everyone was like, well, now the PFL season gets kind of gone by. It gets kind of over. But then you turn around, got some very good fights and a really good final. So can you just talk about this season as a whole? And I guess the emotions of like, oh my God, we just lost a bunch of champions.
Right. It's always tough. You get to see the final product, but behind the scenes, oh, trust me, we're scratching our eyeballs and hair and everything, trying to just, put everything together. And for some reason, it always comes together, So over time and experience, you kind of just bite down and just 1 + 1 = 2, and so on and so on. And before you know it, you got a whole card, and then you look at the card and you go, oh, damn, we actually have a really amazing card. So it's one of those things where you just trust the process and you trust what's happening in your team. And if you look at the card, it's a great card.
Absolutely. Ray Cooper's coming back. And he said he's officially moved up to middleweight, but you guys don't have a middleweight division.
Right.
So what's the future? Like, would you guys bring in a middleweight division? Are you going to hold him for the super fight pay-per-views, or are you willing to let him walk? Like, what's the future?
Well, that's just it's the first two. Obviously, we've talked about adding a couple of weight classes, and of course, that's just time. And this, as you guys all know, there's so much happening with PFL right now. You know what I mean? And so it's just a matter of kind of sorting out this and this and this and this to actually get to a certain point to make those decisions. But hopefully by the end of this year or early next year, we'll decide where that's going. And but as for Ray, yeah, we're going to keep him active until that middleweight division comes.
I wanted to ask you about Cedric Doumbé and Lazy King. They were the big standouts of that Europe card. Right. Are they coming to the season next year?
Doumbé is 100% coming to the season next year. The other gentleman, I'm not sure. Obviously, we got to talk to his manager and go from there. But Doumbé, yeah, I think Doumbé right now has one more fight in the finals in Ireland, and then he'll rest up and get ready for 2024.
And then final one for me. Stepping back, and if Bellator does come over, right, would you cherry pick from the roster to fill the season, or would you keep them separate?
Again, that's something that the team and I have to figure out. Like I said, there's so many things going on happening right now with PFL, positive things, of course, and so that's a possibility. That being said, it just depends on the final touches of that situation, and of course the media rights that with the network and whatnot. So yeah, I can't give you a 100% confirmed answer in terms of that, but we'll keep you posted.
I've just got one quick follow-up. He mentioned some of the fighters that were suspended earlier in the season. Is there plans, do you know yet, to bring them back? Especially like Robert Wilkinson, Thiago Santos, are those people that you plan on giving another chance to? So
that's it's a delicate situation, because I think the team and I are going to sit down hopefully before championship or maybe after championship and figure out how those came about, why this and that happened. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to depend on on all the information that we've gotten from the commission and the results, and so we'll just have to wait and see.
With the almost Bellator acquisition, how likely does that make a super pay-per-view headliner between Kayla and Chris Cyborg?
Very likely.
For 2024?
Very possible, yes.
Nice. Jake Paul said earlier in this year that he'd make his PFL debut late this year, but we're almost at the end of the year.
Right.
if he makes his debut next year, do you think he goes the Biagio Ali Walsh route and has a few amateur fights, or does he go straight into a super pay-per-view headliner of his own?
I think that's going to be up to him. I mean, you know, for example, he called out Nate Diaz, and Nate Diaz is a pro. So if that's the route he wants to go, I mean, that's where he goes, right? So we just have to wait and see when he's looking to make that possible and where he wants to go with that opponent, and then we'll go from there.
When we saw Francis Ngannou train at a media workout, and it looked like he was throwing at 10% speed compared to what he was doing in the ring.
Right.
Do you think he hoodwinked the whole boxing community by pretending that he was a lot slower and not as good as what he really was in the ring? And was that how he took Tyson Fury by surprise?
Listen, I mean, we all knew going into the fight, you know, Francis is the type of guy that if he hits you, you're gonna go, and he proved that in that fight, right? And so I don't think he was trying to, you know, purposely deceive anybody. I think he was just going with the motion at the time and how he felt, and but at the end of the day, he looked amazing, and in my opinion, that should have, you know, I mean, the outcome was obviously went the other way, but in my opinion, he won that fight in terms of everything that, you know, the fact that a lot of people thought he was going to get outboxed, a lot of people thought he was going to lose, he was going to get stopped, but he went 10 rounds with the champ.
I think he won the event, even if he lost the fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if it came down to that one punch, who had the biggest punch? Yeah, Francis should have won the fight.
One of the fights I'd really want to see him in boxing is with Deontay Wilder. Do you think there should be a 2-fight deal where he brings Wilder into the PFL Smart Cage and then they do a rematch in the boxing ring?
Yeah, you know, there's some talks of that, but again, that's one thing that until we sit down with Francis, and I know that my team also have contacts to Dante, and so we'll just wait and see. Just one of those things. We're just gonna have to, when he's back and he's ready to go, then we'll sit down with the team.
With these $1 million checks upcoming, and you know Jake Paul's debut, Francis Ngannou coming in, the possible acquisition of Bellator, just how big could 2024 and the next 12 months be for your brand?
Yeah. It truly would be great for the brand, for sure.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Grazie.